All right, welcome to the Snyder and Friends podcast. I actually forget what episode that we are on right now. Today, I'm going to be talking with Scott at the 45th Parallel Distillery in New Richmond, Wisconsin. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy.
I don't know. I can just pick up really quick on this bar thing.
Yeah.
So,
hold on. Let me introduce you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're Scott.
I'm Scott Davis.
And one of the owners of 45th Parallel.
Well, I started with Paul. Paul's the principal owner of the place. We're old college roommates. Known each other for about 30 years. Lived together in college for about 3 years.
Okay.
Back in the day, we were fairly young, about 23. Met loading trucks at UPS.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did you grow up in this area, or was it?
I grew up in northeast Minneapolis. Paul's originally from north of Merrill, Wisconsin, and north of Wausau in Merrill, Wisconsin. And he moved to Minnesota. We both went to the University of Minnesota, and he lived in Northeast. We lived about 5 blocks from each other. And like I was telling you earlier, in 2005, he approached me and his dad when he was alive. We had coffee at a place called Brownie's in Northeast, no longer there. And he said, I'm thinking about opening a distillery. And I said, there's no distilleries around. Well, what's that? And coming from the restaurant side, I had owned a few restaurants in town, so I was intrigued. And we had found a building in Northeast Minneapolis, and filling out the paperwork for the state of Minnesota, came across the manufacturing of an alcohol permit fee. At the time in 2005 in Minnesota, the fee was $30,000 per year, and we knew it was $1,000 a year in Wisconsin. And
wow!
And in college, we didn't have math at all, but we did the math on that one.
Yeah, quick.
And came over to New Richmond, and the city at that time had an economic development group, and they gave us the land for free as an incentive to build out this area that was just subcontracted as corn and soy, and they wanted to build a business park or industrial business area, and we were the incentive building. But that being said, they didn't put us on the main track on the road. They put us way back in this field, and so we biked out here one time and looking at this cornfield, and we go, "Where is it?" It's over there. It's right in the middle, away from everybody.
And that was before all these. There's other buildings around.
Yeah,
us
nothing
now.
was around us. It was all field, basically. The city was worried to think about any kind of odors coming out of the building. We didn't know either. We didn't know anything about distilling or making beer. We never did either of it. So the learning curve was fairly high. And finally got opened in 2007, broke around 2006. We're the second distillery in Wisconsin to open. But yeah, when we looked around in Minnesota, there was no distillery in Minnesota or Wisconsin. So Paul was saying, let's just push, see what happens. There was somebody that opened up about 6 months before us in Milwaukee. So I can't remember how many distilleries Wisconsin has now. And when we started in the United States, there's about 55 active working distilleries. So we got our permit fee, and our permit number, and we're all excited. And so this coming March 23rd, it's going to be our 15 years.
Wow.
But now there's over 3,000 distilleries in the country. So I think we ran into people at Capital Brewery back. We were at these trade shows trying to figure out how much things are going to cost. And they said, the distilling industry, and this is 2005, they said the distilling industry is going to be where the microbrew business was going. It's going to be a boom. And we go, oh, really? We don't see it right now. So
would you say that's true?
That definitely now. Everything's craft spirits. I think even in the legislation, a lot of monies are being moved to pushing through spirits and not so much with beer and wine. They're probably still growing as well. But we see a big growth, big trend right now. And so we opened in 2007. We just had absolutely no clue what to do. We found a farmer about 8 miles south of us that was growing corn, and we thought, I think we ran into his son Jonathan, and we thought, man, we could get corn right from him. That'd be great. So we called up. His name was Arlen. We became good friends with him, but Arlen said, "Hey, Arlen, we want to buy some corn." And he was a pretty stoic Scandinavian farmer, and he just said no.
He said no?
No, thank you.
Why?
I don't think it was, because we didn't have a mill at the time, so he'd have to mill the corn for us, and the amount we were asking for was such a minimal thing. It was just, it's going to be a bother to him. But I think we run into his son Jonathan, later on, and I think we kind of hit it off, and we talked to him in Twitter. He talked us into it, and so one thing led to another, and we were getting corn from Russmar Farms, from the Strati family, 8 miles south of us. So that's still our primary source of grain. We get corn, wheat, and rye from them for our whiskeys and everything that we make here.
My dad loves the whiskey. Him and Mom used to come down here.
Yeah,
pretty religiously to
yeah
get free samples and
Miss Brian.
Yeah.
So now we make a number of things, but we make a bourbon, which is mostly corn, which makes sense. Corn's grown here. We make a rye, and we make a wheat whiskey, which is more of a not that popular in the United States, but it's. We also make 100% rye, and because I was having trouble making the rye at the time, and I said, Paul, it's gumming up. We're getting a low yield. It's not tasting good right now. It's 2 years in the barrel. It's not going to taste good no matter what. And so instead of my thing was like, let's not do rye. It's too much of a pain. And Paul took it as a challenge, so he said, well, let's make 100% rye. So we just released that this year, so we have that out as well. It tastes like apples. It's just beautiful.
Really?
Nothing really is going to taste good until it's in the barrel for 5 years. Meaning you're not going to get any money until.
Right. It's sitting there.
It's got to sit there.
It.
So we store it in the barrels that we get from down in Missouri, and it's white oak, and we have a medium char, and our staves. It's fairly unique. We found out recently that our staves that from this company called McGinnis. That provides the barrels for us. They sit outside for 3 years, and they age, and they develop all these really interesting characteristics. And the big distillers, they'll use these aged staves, but only for their higher end bourbons.
So when they're aging, they're just aging the wood.
They're aging the wood outside, and they're flat slabs, and they're crossed over, and it rains on them. It develops all these characteristics and these flavors. And so then when they char them, when they're making the barrels, you get this flavor profile that's really kind of unique. It comes out after 4 or 5 years of age time.
Well, the Lift Bridge, I know they do their Commander release, and I think they do that beer in.
That's right.
One of those barrels.
I think they use our bourbon barrels. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So we have an interesting barrel program. So after we're done with them, we were selling them for a while to breweries, and they would use them for whatever they would want. I think a lot of the sour beers were put in the rye barrels for a while. But last year, or maybe pre-COVID, we started keeping our barrels. We had hired a distiller next door before Lift Bridge was here. His name is Bob McKenzie, and he's from Scotland originally. And so he laid down, using our used barrels, 20 barrels of an Irish-style whiskey that we'll probably release next year. And cool. Then we got 13 barrels of a single malt malted barley. We can't call it Scotch in the United States. It's a malted barley whiskey called Glen Eagle. It's not peated or anything like that, but it's kind of like a Glenlivet variation. And that's going to be a while, and we're going to lay down more Scotch style and other things using our used barrels.
So what's the deal with that? What, you can't call it Scotch even though it might be the same similar ingredients?
It's just one of those many rules that you run into.
Okay. It's a rule. You can get fined.
Well, yeah, you can't get your label approved by the government.
I see.
Scotch, unless it's from Scotland.
Okay.
So there's a couple things like that no one tells us, and we don't know until you run into the situation.
Right.
So again, our learning curve was fairly steep. But so in 2007 when we opened, we had vodka only. And I think we were making a horseradish vodka for a restaurant in St. Paul called Moscow on the Hill.
Ooh, for Bloody, I know where that is, and for Bloody Marys.
Yep, exactly. So we had two, not thinking anything about making that for them, and we had two things, like two brands. We had the vodka, 45th, Alcorn, and the horseradish, infused vodka. So 2009 comes along, and around here in Richmond, everything shut down. The economy kind of tanked. And nobody wanted a bottle of higher-end vodka at $26. And
right.
It was a little bleak, and we had problems manufacturing the vodka. We had issues because we didn't know, like I said, what we were doing. And so some of our bottles were getting returned. Paul and I and his dad, Paul, were dumping these bottles out to get refiltered at midnight, trying to get them back to the distributor, and no one wanted to talk to us, basically. So a lot of money was going out. Paul was feeling a lot of pressure. do something else. And I think I remember it was in June of '09. They came up to me, Paul and his dad said, "I think we have to close the doors. This is not working out." And I said, "Well, we got that one more trade show down in Kentucky. Let's go. We're going to go see what's going on down there." So we went to this trade show, and we met. That's where we met Joe and Elizabeth Henry from Madison, Wisconsin, outside of Madison in Dane County. And about a couple weeks later, they hired us to make a whiskey, a bourbon for them, using their grain. So they shipped their grain to us, and we'd make from. So that provided a cash flow. So they wrote us a check that kept us moving forward.
Wow, and got you through that slump.
Got us through that thing, and then we had enough cash to lay down barrels for ourselves. And that being said, we can't release anything right away, but it did take a few years. But at least we could rely on something that's called contract distilling or private labels for people. We didn't know this existed, as a potential revenue source. And then all of a sudden, we're making things for other people. It's kind of a thing.
With their label on it, their restaurant or whatever.
Their label of their brand.
Okay.
Right. And then they would pick up the barrels, we would fill them, and they would store them in their little rick house that they had in their farm. And they had a tasting room in their farm. And years went by, and then they hired us to bottle it for them. So now they send the barrels back. They select the number of barrels. We'll dump the barrels, filter it to the right proof that they want, and they'll send their glass, their bottles, and their packaging here. We'll fill them, and we'll send them out to back to their distributor.
Wow!
So another cash flow source. So because of that, the contract distilling that we do now is about 35 to 40% of our production revenue that we didn't know that existed as a revenue stream before. So we're pretty much set up to do small to larger size private labels for people.
Anywhere in the world? Like, are you
we get
international or?
Well, not international, but we just had a request. I don't think we're going to be able to do it, but if somebody wants to make a potato vodka. There's a group of people that want us to lay down barrels. They don't want a brand. They just want it's an investment group out of Milwaukee. They just want aged whiskey. So we charge them storage for 5 years, and then they're going to sell it like whatever 3 or 4 times what they paid us for it. But it's easier money for us.
Sure.
So that's where I was saying wow, because we didn't know, like, we were barely hanging on, and then all of a sudden, we get pushed through to present day. With New Richmond growing, first of all, with the bridge going through Stillwater, really was a good positive boost for this area. So all of a sudden, people started moving in here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then
it's insane. You can't find a house.
Yeah, they're building 100 homes or plus a year, bringing people here, and that kind of led us to that and other things led us to build during COVID we built an event center with a restaurant.
Which is awesome.
So drove people here, and then we can sell bottles. Of course, it's Wisconsin, and we sell pizzas, we sell cocktails, and weddings, and celebrations of life, and other things in between.
So, are you able to? Do you sell all over the country then?
Right now, we're in this country. I think we were in Vancouver for a while, but we haven't really pursued national distribution. It's kind of a pain to go through the red tape on every area that you go to, and you need people in that market. You need to get behind it, and we just don't have enough people to do that. And it kind of doesn't make sense. We can be supportive of our employees and our family and friends just in this area.
Right.
That cause we can grow in this area, and it's a growing market. So we're not going to overextend ourselves and push ourselves into different corners of the world just because.
Yeah,
that's the thing. But it was an original dream to get everything placed around the 45th parallel. So to step back a bit, Paul, like I said, is from north of Wausau, Merrill, Wisconsin. I grew up in northeast Minneapolis, so we always talked about living our lives and dating the same girls in the 45th parallel. So that's why the 45th parallel. And by happenstance, the Strati family that supplies our grain, Rustmar Farms, is on 45.00 north latitude. So without us planning it, because if we planned it, we would know where it...
Like they are on.
The farm is on the 45th, exactly. And we're just 8 minutes north of it. So
yeah.
Which is kind of the reason we found New Richmond. We knew we wanted to stay along the 45th. When that prohibitive permit fee was in Minnesota, we just went due east, basically. So, I'm looking right now where I live in Northeast. I'm like a 0.2, like whatever, away from the 45th. So we all live on the 45th, basically.
So you make the commute?
We all make the commute. our name of our bourbon is Border Bourbon, and Paul was thinking that we go across the border the last 14, 15 years, so let's call it Border Bourbon.
So when you bring it back to that side, you have to smuggle it in your...
We have a distributor in Minnesota, too.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're in Minnesota, we're in Iowa, Wisconsin, of course. We were in Michigan, but not so much anymore. We were in Chicago, part of Illinois, and not so much. I mean, the markets are tough for that, and we're happy just to grow within our area that we manufacture things in.
Yep.
So the answer your... Well, no, talk about this bar thing. So we built this...
This bar, this circle bar.
Yeah, the circle bar. We built this event center, and Paul was in business with our other college roommate for about 10 years. His name is Jeff. And so we hired Jeff to design the building. So Jeff designed the building, and he did all the stonework. And when we were... Might be a long story, but when we were ice fishing, so Jeff has a cabin up in Silver Bay, which is right off Superior, north of Two Harbors, and we go up there ice fishing, and Jeff was talking about the design and what he's thinking about. And first of all, he was talking about the doors. He goes, "It's all about the doors, about these doors." And so you can't see them, but these doors are these big, huge doors on both wings of this building. They get pushed up in this little cantilever over with these hydraulic rams, and they provide an overhang. And we didn't know what he meant when he talked about the doors, but when we saw him, and it's a large format door, kind of like an airplane hangar wing.
That's what it reminds me of.
It's really magical when it's the right weather. We open up both sides, and it creates this breeze that comes through here. That's like,
it's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
In a hot Wisconsin summer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And especially if it's humid, windy, it stays cool in the building, so it's ideal. So he's talking about the doors, and then when we decided to have the bar as the main attraction in the restaurant, like the bar should be the focal point. I thought we had talked about doing a poured concrete, top on the bar, or whatever it was going to be. And we're ice fishing again the next year, and he's going, "It's all about this map bar." And I don't know if we were understanding him. We're like, "Map bar? What's a map bar?" We didn't, and then he doesn't elaborate on it, right? So we go, "Oh, it's going to be a map bar. Is that part of is that a concrete thing? Maybe that is."
Right. So you didn't even realize that you were talking about a map.
No. There's no process on that. So we come in here. We see these a friend of ours from Madison. Sammy's working with her mom overnight, and she said, "Jeff hired me to create this map around the world. So if you look up from above on the mezzanine, you'll see a map of the world around the 45th parallel around the whole bar." So, and then not knowing that the Pacific Ocean was so big, there's a big, vast open space on a quarter of the bar, but it's true to form. I don't know how she did it, put it together, and she had pictures everywhere around here, and it was so it really works well functionally, and not just visually and aesthetically, but as people move around in bars, and if they order food or order drinks, we'll just set the drink where they ordered from, like Ukraine or Wisconsin or International Dateline,
middle of the Pacific.
Yeah, we call it the Dateline. Yeah. But then you can find people because it's a social gathering around here, and it kind of works functionally as well, like I said. So
no, it's brilliant. Whenever we're done, I should grab my drone and see if
if you can get up there.
I can get up there. I just don't know if I have a wide enough
to
lens
get a visual,
because that would be a cool picture.
Don't kill the drone.
I won't kill the drone. I won't. Yeah, this is a great building. My first time in it was last week sometime.
That was the first time?
You were making pizza.
Oh, I thought you'd been in there before. When you saw it.
I've been to the original production facility.
Right.
You still do tours in there and whatnot.
Yeah. So the bar we're sitting on right now, this horseshoe bar, this is where the tours and tastings start now. So we still have our older buddy Steve. Steve's been giving tours for years and years, and we have Tobias who gives tours, mostly Tobias now, but he'll bring people here. He'll introduce them to us and to the products, and then walk people through the production area, distilling, bottling, barreling, barrel storage, and then come back here and they'll do flights of whatever he has set up for them, and they can order food afterwards for that. So ideally, this was the thought about this event space, that we want to provide, revenue on the food side, cocktails, tours and tastings, and events, and they all come at the same time, and it's it really works well. And you brought up Lift Bridge, so Lift Bridge is right north of us now. And in the summer, it's so much fun to see people walking back and forth between the two places. This is an ideal situation.
Liftbridge is I love those guys. They back pre-COVID, I was playing every Thursday night at their tap room in Stillwater.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then for their big events, they hire me to set up the full-on. I bring out all my sound system, and then book the bands, and
right.
it turns into like a 12-hour day. I get there at 10:30 in the morning, set up, and I'm breaking down by like 10, 11 at night. And I look forward to those events.
It's the best,
It's
right?
like a release. Yeah, and it's crazy how much support the community has for these craft spirits, craft beers. Like
more and more, I think.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's amazing.
I love it.
I love it.
So, and New Richmond's happy. They, as a draw for people traveling or just coming from the cities, there's a distillery and a brewery really close to one another.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I hope they're going to stay there, right?
They're going to stay there
because I heard they're breaking ground now in River Falls.
They're going to stay in this space, and then they'll probably expand again. They need more room.
Yeah.
So we're expanding. We're building another rick house, another barrel storage area.
Here in New Richmond?
Here in New Richmond, right behind us, because we need more room. We're going to expand our parking. And, it's been talk about, there's a lot of bikers around here, a lot of cyclists.
Yes.
Some of the elite cyclers in the country. It came a couple weeks ago for the Fat Tire World Race, which was interesting to see. And every Thursday, there's a cycle group that comes here, usually around the year. They'll ride year-round.
The Big Ring Flyers.
The Big Ring Flyers.
I want to join that group. They go on rides all the time.
All the time. They're a lot of fun, and they promote us. They're the best. And they'll come here Thursdays, and they'll get a pint, and then they'll
Do they have 45th Parallel jerseys?
No, they don't. But Paul's been riding with them.
Okay.
And our head distiller, Bob McKenzie, Bob will ride once in a while. He's an aggressive rider. And then I guess we didn't even know this when we hired him as a bartender, but Andre Pitak was an elite rider back in the day, and everybody knows Andre. He rode with him for a while.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, without thinking about it, again, it seems like a theme. We were surrounded by these cyclists, and so because of that, I think either separately or part of the Rick House, we're going to build kind of a bike shop that people can store their bikes
That's
and get
awesome.
things fixed. And because the riders say, the Big Ring Flyers say they go to Hudson or River Falls, or there's nothing close by.
Yeah, that's so great.
So we're pretty excited to create this community. And then we're trying to put together a couple things. I don't know if we don't have anything set in stone yet, but we have opened a second distillery with a restaurant called Restaurant Lolo out of Stillwater, right? So we're not up and running yet, but we have 2 small stills and a little tasting bar behind the restaurant called Stillwater proper. It's about 4 buildings north of Restaurant Lolo, just south of the lift bridge, and so it would be ideal, talking about biking, cycling, to create a ride from one way, and then drive everybody back, or shuttle them or something, and then they can buy some swag, buy some food, or come back. But so we'll try to create some community that way over the summer and into the fall. This coming year. So we're kind of excited about that.
There's actually really good. They have county roads that are shared bike route.
More and more now. So Paul did this thing to me. He got me involved with this biking thing. So what we'll do is we'll drive in from the cities in the summer. And I don't ride with him anymore. I can't. It's just too much for me. But he'll ride out. He put in over 3,000 miles last year. So, but we'll ride. We'll stop at the park and ride just north of Stillwater in Holton, and then we'll ride the 17 miles into the building here. And he said he has a couple hills, and there's aggressive grades, and there's more than 2. It's going, oh, what's going on? I'm just huffing and puffing, and I look behind. He's going no-handed behind me. I said, you're killing me. But it's kind of addicting, and so now I ride by myself, but I still been riding hopefully once a week this coming summer.
Yep.
And he'll ride almost every day, and he enjoyed the rides through these county roads so much that all his kids have moved up. His oldest son Anton is our general manager now at the restaurant here, but Paul and his wife bought some property in Somerset, so it's not built on yet, but they're going to be living about 12 miles from the building.
Cool. So, they're going to probably commute.
Well, he said, bike. I need a longer ride now. I said, yeah, you'll figure something out. So we're happy to kind of envelop this cycling environment, and it kind of makes sense too.
Absolutely.
Right. yeah.
So, for sure. I wish there was more of that. I've always I love what La Crosse has done.
Yeah.
With their trail systems. It's absolutely amazing, and I don't understand why. I mean, there's that Ice Age trail. It's the beginning of the Ice Age trail or whatever up in Taylor's Falls. And they have some single track there that's real cool. Just trail riding.
Yeah, exactly.
And and then River Falls has a little something, but man, the trail systems in La Crosse, the flow is just amazing. There's great climbs,
it's magical. Yeah,
it really is. And I wish there was more of that here.
I think it's happening. I think as the city builds, they're developing trails and walkways and bike paths in part of the infrastructure of their build out. It seems like where other communities are not. New Richmond seems to be trying to incorporate some of that.
Yeah, that's good.
So last summer we saw them building. Roads closed. They're building another bike trail. No, that's fine. Build all the bike trails. It's all good.
Yep.
So you mentioned Ice Age. When we were a long time ago, we were trying to figure out a name for some brand we were trying to create. We thought about Ice Age, right? Ice Age. Yeah, it makes sense.
Woolly Mammoth.
Yeah, Woolly Mammoth. Yeah, we had a logo and everything, and then I think Pixar had that. Taking any kind of variation, they control all kinds of. We couldn't
Aged Ice.
We couldn't get near. We couldn't get near. We just dropped it. But at the time, it was like, oh, that's too bad.
That is too bad.
Could have had it before.
Was it the logo was too similar, or was it
the name? The name.
How can somebody own that? I mean, that was a period in history that sucked for most people.
Right. Yeah. So well, also. That being said, we didn't have a lot of money to litigate and figure out what's legal and what's not. We just we're told certain things. So as an example, when we first opened 6 months into the business, we got a nice, heavily embossed, heavy stock letter from a winery in France. I was like, oh, this is really cool. What was this? And it was a cease and desist letter for using the 45th name, the logo.
Really?
It was, the winery had 45th as their, they make a red and a white. It's in Rhone Valley, France. And they said, well, you can use this vodka, but you can't go forward. And so because of that, in the last, 12, 13 years, all our brands are kind of all over the place because we couldn't have 45th as the primary label to line item it to make it all the same. So it's a little disjointed. But then a few years ago we were getting everything trademarked for 45th, and we hired legal people, and I said, well, they don't have a case against you. You can. They're a winery in France, you're a distillery in Wisconsin, USA. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Well, we didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So going forward, you'll see new bottle shapes and logos. Everything will look. Everything will have the 45th on it.
Okay, because I noticed that border bourbon.
Right.
That doesn't, right?
On the tag, there's a little 45th, but it's not the primary.
Yeah. Like what's on the vodka.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, So
okay.
You'll see a new logo coming for all the products that we make, including our aquavits. So now we make 6 different aquavits, and this was started by Mike McCarron. Mike, as a quick story about the aquavits, Mike was from the same town as Paul. Lives in Minneapolis. Worked in the corporate world, on the computer side, and he had this idea years ago, and he called us up and said, hey, I want to hire you to make some aquavit. And Paul and I go, oh, aquavit, what's that again? So we went to the store and we grabbed a bottle and drank it. It was the worst tasting.
What is it?
What is it? Like, wow, what is this stuff? And my grandma...
No, what is it?
I'll tell you. Well, my grandma, growing up, my grandma, Swedish side, Swedish Christmas. We never had lutefisk, though, and we never had aquavit. We had everything else, I think. So I said, I think it's a Scandinavian thing. So anyway, it is a Scandinavian spirit that's primarily or traditionally infused with caraway. So if you think caraway, you think kind of a rye caraway bread, a little harsh, a little spicy, nutty, aggressive. And this was the stuff that we tried off the bottom shelf for $10. Was really rough and it's high proof. And it's like, well, how do you drink this? And so anyway, Mike said, yeah, I read the story about a Norwegian aquavit producer that was making a specialty aquavit with dill, and they stopped exporting it to the U.S. And so he said, I want to fill that niche in the U.S. for dill aquavit. And Paul was saying, well, Mike, there's not a niche in the U.S. for dill aquavit right now. But Mike was adamant to pursue the whole thing going forward. And so we found a farmer about 10 miles north of us, Eric Anderson, and they've been supplying us with dill. So dill's the backbone of all 6 aquavits that we make. In 2018, we brought in like 1,800 pounds of dill aquavit. The whole place smelled like a pickle factory.
Wow.
It's a thing. So we have some aged aquavits. We have some flavored aquavits. Bartenders love it because they can make cocktails out of it. It's fairly unique. And,
is it clear?
It's clear except for the aged thing. So it's called Gamle Ode, and we'll have 45th on there eventually too. But the dill aquavit, once it's distilled, color doesn't go through distillation, so it all comes out clear. And then afterwards, if we put it in a barrel or infuse it with something else, it picks up flavor from those other botanicals. So we have one it's called Holiday with mint and orange peel. We are using it a little bit for old fashions because of the orange flavor in there. But there's a couple barrels of this dill aquavit. This is our 6th aquavit. We put the dill in it. I remember asking Mike. I said, I think we're out of bottles, Mike, for this dill aquavit. I didn't even know what to call it back then. I thought, what's this stuff? What is this stuff? And we're out of bottles anyway. He goes, that's okay. I got a couple red wine barrels in my house, in my garage. I'll put it in my Prius and bring it over. And we had two big barrels, 2 big 60-gallon barrels of red Zinfandel barrels that were emptied that we put the leftover dill aquavit in. And I remember writing test 1 and test 2 on the barrels and then forgot about them for about 4 years. And then we were moving things to the Rick house when we built it. I remember talking to him. I called up Mike. I said, Mike, what's this test 1 again? What's this test 2? He goes, well, let's try it. And we tried it. It was pretty good. And it picked up the color.
Did you know right away? It's like, oh, that's
pretty
dill.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, then I remembered, yeah. But it picked up the color of the red Zinfandel color, so it's almost like a port-like thing. It's called Alderen, and in Danish it means aged, and so it's about 90 proof. So this Alderen is fairly unique, and because we forgot about it, because there's not a lot of dill aquavits in the U.S., it's the oldest aged dill aquavit in the U.S., or one of the oldest now.
Wow.
But not planned.
Yeah, by accident.
So
but
that's how things are happening here. So
that's great. So is that being bottled and sold?
Yeah, so we have a dill. We have a celebration with it has some star anise, so it has a little licorice flavor. And then also halfway through this, 5 years ago, we ran out of bottles again, and I said, Mike, we're out of bottles. We need bottles. And he goes, well, I know I don't have bottles right now, but I know you dumped some of your rye. You have some empty rye barrels. Let's put it in there, and we'll talk about it next year. And so because of that, Mike comes by the next year. He goes, I have a new brand. It's our celebration in rye, our holiday in rye. So we have an aged aquavit program.
Cool.
And so when the young kids come in and say, "Show me something different," I got a lot to show them.
Yeah.
They say, "Show me something I haven't tasted before." Like, okay, here we go. So that's the aquavit program. But our whiskeys, we started doing this during COVID to increase our bottle sales. Here is we just started finding barrels, and we finish our whiskey in barrels, such as first of all, nothing leaves our house, our building, until it's 5 years aged. Right? It's at least 5, then we can release it. So we found a couple cognac barrels. So we'll dump our barrels of bourbon, let's say, put them in the cognac barrels for 3 or 4 months, and it's a cognac finished bourbon.
And this is after it has aged.
After it's aged, five or 6.
Okay, so 5 is the number,
5,
and then
it aged for either 3 to 6 months in a, let's say, a sherry barrel. We've done sherry release. We've done a cognac release. We're finding different barrels that we can age things in. One of the funnest ones was somebody approached us with a maple syrup. First of all, he has a maple syrup company, and he wanted a bourbon barrel to put his maple syrup in. So he put his maple syrup in one of our bourbon barrels, and then after 3 months, he dumped it out, marketed it as a bourbon finished maple syrup, gave the barrels back to us. We put our 5-year-old bourbon in that maple syrup barrel, and did a maple finished release last Thanksgiving before, and then this last Thanksgiving too. And the first one we sold out in one day, and then we dumped more barrels last year.
Yeah.
So So we might have a few more, but they go pretty fast.
Sure.
It just softens them up, a lot. And it just provides a different flavor profile and a way to sell more bottles.
But then you got to wait 5 years. If something's a success, it's like, dang it, we should have made two.
We have other barrels. I mean, when we make a batch, it's like an 18-barrel run. So we have barrels going forward. Sometimes there's a small gap of a few months, but usually there's 5 years of something available at any given time.
So, I mean, how many barrels do you have like just aging right now?
I think we've got about 2,000 total.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think we're considered a mid-level distillery. We're not one of the big people.
That's a lot of barrels.
We're not tiny anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, and then working back there in the rick house for years before this event center was built. You have to lift the barrels up in these racks and you move them, and you think, boy, if anybody hasn't seen them, they're about 6 tiers high, and each rack holds 2 barrels, and each barrel is about 500 pounds with the wood. So it's I can pick up with a forklift 4 barrels at a time. That's 2,000 pounds. But if I'm not feeling it, or if I'm a little wobbly from the night before, I'll just walk away, because I figured if one barrel goes, they're all going to go.
Oh man,
I might as well just keep on walking.
Probably looks like the national treasure archive, Fort Knox.
You get your forklift fork stuck in the barrel racks, and it kind of moves it a certain way where you think it's wobbling. I better.
So have you ever just walked away and then come back the next day?
Not the next day. After a cup of coffee or a few hours.
Yeah, you're just looking at it.
Yeah, or
forklift is stuck.
What I'll do is I'll get somebody else to help me.
Yeah,
just walk me through this, or you do it.
Yeah, I'd be like,
Yeah.
Here, let me grab my camera.
Sometimes that's precarious. Yeah, I mean, I think all in all, with everybody moving barrels around, I don't think we've lost more than 5 barrels at a time. But sometimes one falls, and
damn it,
hopefully it doesn't knock the rest of them over.
Quick, roll around on the floor.
Suck it up. Yeah.
Get some straws.
Right.
Oh man.
So we're having fun, and it's moving forward, and all of a sudden, instead of 3 employees, 8 employees, now we have over 40, sometimes 50.
Wow.
And so
congratulations.
It's overwhelming. I don't know. It's overwhelming.
Well, you have an event coordinator. I met her last week, Lindsay.
Lindsay Kittle.
Super nice lady.
And she's from around town. She knows everybody here. Everybody loves her. So it's
yep, that's great.
She's been bringing a lot of people to the space, which is fun. And I'm both looking forward to it and tentatively thinking about this summer, because we have 2 patios. We have one on the north side overlooking Lift Bridge, and one on the west side facing the sunset as it goes down, which is kind of cool.
Don't you have a patio on the?
And then the event center has a patio, and they have the overhang patio. So the event center has 2 patios as well. So, and then every year, we possibly the last Saturday of September. This will be 12, 13 years we've been doing it as a bluegrass festival. It's kind of a thank you for everybody. Last year we had 2,200 people come in.
Wow.
And we'll have three bluegrass bands play. Some vendors will show up. Some people with food, and we get people, kids, dogs.
What are the dates there of that?
I don't know. Don't know the last Saturday date of September.
Okay.
So it's usually the last Saturday of September, and
cool.
When it's still fairly warm.
Yep.
Sun's up to about 6 o'clock. The last band plays into the sun usually as it's setting. So we play out in this green space, and it's just a good event for everybody, for the community.
There's a group out of River Falls that you guys should have play this year.
Yeah.
High and Rising. It's a husband-wife duo, and then they have some pretty high caliber musicians that come and play with them, and they travel all over the state of Wisconsin, bluegrass festivals.
We should probably book them now then.
We should, because otherwise they're going to be booked.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean.
And she's this tall. And she plays a stand-up bass.
Perfect.
And she's got this really wonderful, earthy, I don't want to call it baritone voice. She has a low register voice.
Right.
And then her husband, Jim, he's a flat pick guitar player, and then they have a fantastic. I'd call him a drummer, but you'll see what I'm talking about when you see him. He has a very unique drum kit situation going on, and then they'll bring in fiddle players or
that's ideal.
Yeah, and they collaborate a lot with other bluegrass groups. So
the bluegrass thing really worked. The first year that we did this was over on we didn't have this space, so sort of in the asphalt from the production area, and we had a cover band, right, which is fine, cover band. Everybody hears that. Next year, I think we had a blues band, like bluesy, and that blues and bourbon. We didn't have bourbon then either, but it's blues and maybe. Yeah. But the bluegrass thing just kind of it felt right. It brought the right people. The kids can come, families are like don't have to worry about. I mean, and people dance and people just listen to the music and eat food and drink whatever they want, basically. But it's almost like a big picnic. So the bluegrass, as far as music, is ideal for us here.
Yeah.
So really happy to pursue it, and hopefully it gets bigger and bigger. So.
Well, it sounds like it can't get much bigger. Is it here on premises?
So we use a green space in the middle of the production and the event center.
Okay.
And we have one of our farmers brings a trailer. They go up in a trailer, so they have some.
Who does your sound? Do you have a sound? Do you have a guy, or do you hire a company? Or like I want to do it.
Okay,
I can show up and
talk to. I can't remember who does the sound.
Okay, well, you probably have.
Somebody has done the sound, but I don't know. Like usually, one of the people. And one of the three bands will say, I'll do the sound for this.
Yes.
And then they'll be, so they set up for their band and they'll set up for the other two. I think that's
pretty common. That's the way I do it at the Lift Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can throw your hat in the ring and need
Why
a
not?
sound guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't be bad.
Well, maybe I want to play it.
And maybe you want to.
I would love to. I could.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, be perfect.
I'm excited to play tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow it's our second night for live music. I think we're going to do this every Wednesday. And you're playing on the 23rd of March, which is our 15-year anniversary.
I'm looking forward to that.
Pretty pumped about that. That's going to be great.
Yeah. No, me too. I came last week. I had a pizza, and it was fantastic. I had the one with truffle and the white sauce.
Oh, yeah. It's called the Antonio.
I had the Antonio. I ate that whole thing.
With some mushrooms.
It was so good.
Mushrooms and cheese, basically.
Shiitake. Well, I had some meat on it, too, like a dried, cured bacon, maybe.
Oh, cool.
It was good. It was delicious.
I kind of went down the rabbit hole with the pizza making thing. So we got this wood-fired oven from Italy. It does have a gas assist, but the wood-fired oven is a pretty large format oven to use. And it came from the restaurant side in the past. I haven't made pizzas. I made thin crust, little cracker crust pizzas.
Were your partners like, okay, Scott, there you go.
They threw me back here.
Go do it.
So. Since we mill, our grain for whiskey, I was thinking I could mill grain for pizza too. So about 10% of the flour that's milled we use from here. So I use a rye, and then I'll use 5 or 10% of another an heirloom wheat. So a quick aside is that back in 2016. Arlen or the Strati family, Russmar Farms, ran out of wheat temporarily, and I said, "Oh, you're out of wheat. How did that happen?" I don't know, out of wheat. But he goes, I have a solution. Arlen said the guy next to me, his son, kind of took over and grew some heritage or heirloom wheat called Red Fife, and so this wheat it's in you'll see it in a lot of co-ops and bakeries because it's in its original DNA form. So people with not celiac, but with wheat allergies can digest this wheat a lot easier because it's never been altered. I traced it back to through Canada, through the Fife farm, and then I think it was in Glasgow. I think it was in the Ukraine, but we distilled it. So in 2016, we bought a bunch. It's expensive. So this spring, we'll be coming out with a heritage wheat whiskey called Red Fife wheat. So it's fairly unique, and
awesome.
I'm excited about that. But I'll mill. I have a couple more from Dave Greenfield. He brings over buckets for me, so I'll mill it up I don't use that much, so it's in a coffee grinder. I mill this heritage wheat up and then use that in a pizza crust. So we got wheat and rye, our rye, and then the rest is 00 flour. But I mean, there's so many things it's a simple.
00 is like
it's a finely milled Italian flour.
Okay.
From Caputo.
I was hearing someone talk about that with pasta, different pastas, and then 00 is like the primo, right?
It works really well, and I really would love to source out a locally milled, a local miller that can like select different things, and I can just say, hey, I want this, and do our own custom blend locally instead of getting some flour from Italy. Not that it's bad; it's really good, but
yeah, keep it local.
Keep it local. And my goal for the restaurant is to, at least during the spring and summer and fall seasons is to have 100% everything from here. So because of that last summer or last spring, we started a farmer's market back here. We're going to do that again this year.
Nice.
So we had 42, 44, 45 vendors, I think, at the height of the season. I didn't know there was that many people growing really good crops around here. And they came in and set up, and everybody, we brought about 200 people a day, and it was on a Sunday.
We're going to have to call. All right. So my dad, he should have owned a bike shop. So he's a mechanic. He's a grease monkey.
Yeah.
So he can do that, and then we can have Mom grow vegetables.
Full timers.
I know.
We got some full timers.
Come back up here.
Yeah. So then we did the Bloody Mary bar, and then we got a Bloody Mary bar, and then we have food here. So, but back to the pizza thing, I tell you, it took about 6 months to kind of hone in on it because there's hydration ratio, which is how wet the dough is, and then fermentation time and how long does it sit? 4 hours. 12 hours, and 24 hours.
Nothing's frozen.
72. We don't have a freezer. We have a little box freezer that, there's no room in there. And we don't have a walk-in cooler here. So everything is made. I just think the Italian way is just sat out and you just do it. But all that was a good philosophy to have. But then in the summer when you run out of things, you gotta work with what you got.
Yeah.
So you just move faster. And for about 6 months, I had this idea. It was my fault. I didn't want a mixer. First of all, they were pretty expensive. So I was hand mixing everything until it didn't make sense to do it anymore. So we got a nice Italian spiral mixer right now. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited. Big. Yeah, it's a 40-quart bowl, which is ideal for us here.
Yeah.
But so going forward, I think besides pizzas, we'll have some entree options too, using local produce, local meat producers around here too. There's so much around here. That just kind of blew my mind. So pretty excited going into this next season. No,
and I get the feeling that the community totally supports it.
I think everybody's excited.
Everybody's super pumped.
Yeah,
and I've heard I'm excited. Like when I was down in La Crosse a lot, I'd go into, say, Woodman's. And have you been into a Woodman's?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it the first time I went. It was like the biggest store I've ever seen, grocery store.
Every year, I don't know what's going on this year, but there's a thing in Madison, Wisconsin called Distill America. It's on one of the lakes. It's usually at the Edgewater. I think it was moved because of COVID issues over the years, so I don't know it's in May sometime this year. But there's a Woodman's in Madison, and we went in there, and they had our whiskeys right there.
Yes, I know.
It's really cool.
I saw it. And it's in a good spot down at the one in La Crosse. I was like, hey, I know these guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the success.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for, I guess I can't see how. Oh, dude, almost an hour.
No, I got to get going. I got stuff to do.
No. I know what I'm saying is we've almost been talking an hour. That went way longer than I thought it would be. So
anyway, it was an easy one.
Scott, thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Chris, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Wednesday.
I'll be here.
Sweet.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
I think I start at 5:30.
Great.
Is that it? So, all right.
Fun. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, bud.
Right.
Well, ladies and gents, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate the support. In these past episodes, I've been using a lot of music that I have written over the years, just as my jingles. But today I thought I'd leave you with some music from High and Rising. High and Rising, Jim and Laura Farley have this amazing groovy bluegrass sound. It's really quite wonderful. They just dropped an album. You can find it on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Their website is highandrising.net. Check them out. They travel all over Wisconsin and just play a lot of bluegrass festivals. I'm going to try to get them to headline the Bluegrass Festival at 45th Parallel, which takes place the last weekend of September. So this song that I'm going to leave you with, it's called Moth Song off their new album. So thank you so much, and we'll talk next week.
Sometimes I wonder, what am I chasing for? Sometimes I wonder, what would be? Just like a moth chases after fire, your heart's a fire that wants me. Ooh. flew at night, chase after the same pretty light, and we all dance away. Yeah, we all dance away. Yeah, we all dance away at the fire. If a butterfly flew at night, chase after the same